What we're going to do today is talk about progression in reading and how you can progress your levels. And to do that, we're going to look at Richard III by Shakespeare. So we're going to look at how to develop your analytical skills at word level and demonstrate how to generate precise and perceptive responses to a text.
It's quite a focused four-part lesson that would enable the children to demonstrate their ability to understand the writer's use of language, and that's a skill that they can take with them into further texts and further tasks.
Okay, so to move on, we need to unpick AF5, and in your pairs, what I'm going to do is hand out some questions in what would look like a fan. And your job is to create 2 questions about Richard, so about the extract that we've read, and they're going to be focused on language.
That one, how was the choice of words created the feeling of panic?
What does deformed, unfinished, sent before my time tell you about Richard? He's got a hunchback, he's not finished as a person.
He looks different, abnormal.
He's premature, yeah.
What do phrases such as cheated or feature mean?
Basically saying that he's cheated by God, he's not right, he don't fit into the environment, he's deformed and God has produced him that, like, he's hatred. He's using this as an excuse for sympathy. Good. Even though his evil could be used as an excuse for his deformity.
Right, excellent. So that's the answer that you're expecting from other people. Yeah. Super.
My role here at Mount Carmel School is to work with the English department to support them in their implementation of APP in order to raise standards. Perhaps if we gave children a copy of the AF's 4 reading from levels 5, 6 and 7, which is about the target group that you're working with.
Considering you might use APP with any ability class, I think it's important that we analyse what these words mean, so they might not understand what a euphemism is. So we need to try and work out how we would put that across to them.
Although the students are using the official APP materials, they are doing so with the support of teacher explanation and teacher-pupil discussion about what certain phrases and terminology actually means, and that's very empowering.
If we look at the APP grid, I imagine that you're about here, you've had some detailed explanation, but how could you develop it? Because you've picked up on sportive tricks. Are there any other words in that quotation that you could draw out?
The but I bit, because like all the way through the poem, like up until the but I, like it's like telling you about like how everyone's been celebrating because like it's just won the war, and then like it says but, so like you know that it's changing and something's gonna happen. Then it says I, like he's the only one, and like he's gonna be the one that's left out and lonely again on his own.
Good, and that links into the motive, so you're developing that answer to consider the whole text.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The task today, focusing on AF5, is quite a demanding thing to ask of a young teacher, and it was very useful to be able to have David working with Gemma in a coaching role.
Think of somebody more contemporary like Alexandra Burke. It was her second time on X Factor, wasn't it? On the first time, she didn't get through, did she?
No.
So she went before her time was there.
So she needed to work.
Right.
So she had enough talent to like sing and get through.
Okay. What does it tell you about Richard, about his dreams at the moment?
Because he's before his time, he needs to wait for a bit longer.
There are some real difficulties with APP. There's a lot of things that can be successful with it, and over a period of time we've seen that the students' progress has been positive. However, the marking of these little individual pieces, some of the things that we've created so far have produced problems and have produced that we haven't found the evidence that we required. We've had to sit down as a department and try and thrash our way through it and change the resources, not necessarily the text, but the way that we gather evidence. So why use deformed, unfinished, sent before my time?
In terms of evidence collection, there were several different layers really. It's just as valid for the teachers involved in the lesson today to make judgments about the standard at which children are working through their oral responses. And that's something that we really need to keep in mind as teachers, because assessing students' ability within reading isn't necessarily about what it is that they write. It's to do with what they've understood about the reading process. And so I would be looking for Gemma and David to be reflecting on what students were saying today and making judgments based on those contributions.
Can you just remind me what perhaps you would have to do to reach level 7 in your answer, or even level 6? Monica?
You can use connectors like furthermore to add to your answer so you can explain it more.
Good. The use of connectives is a good thing to do, but it's more than that, isn't it?
When it says like, but, it's like saying, he's talking about all the happy times and he's saying, but, as in, I'm not happy, and then telling like, well, I'm not shaped, so he's like carrying on what he's trying to say, but saying all the bad things about him.
Excellent. So that use of the connective signals a change. Can you now swap your sheets to the next pair on your table, and you're now going to answer those questions with your success criteria. So you're looking at the assessment focus 5 and you're trying to match it up, so is it perhaps level 5, level 6 or level 7? So I want you to, with your highlighter, highlight parts where they've met AF5, so they're discussing language, any parts that you think are good and why you think they are good. So all the time referring to your grid and marking the work with your highlighter and making notes on the side.
Some of the comments have little knowledge of indication of grammatical and literacy features. Not enough detail images described, but they've got quite, so at least you've got level 5.
Yeah. What I really like about that is he's saying that the son of York, and it's like a pun, so it's like a correlation between him being it's like glorious and him bringing joy and happiness to York.
From the summer?
Yeah, bringing the winter to the summer, so it's like a correlation. So
level about 6?
Level 6, right. Most of it's level 6.
I think it's like a high level 6 because she's got a lot of detail in the answer. She's talking about the correct words and she's starting to see like the bigger picture overall.
How would you get this level 6 work into that level 7 bracket?
Well, I don't know.
The workload issue with APP can be quite tricky because at first, for someone who is new to the approach, it can seem like an awful lot of work. But actually, when you see APP being used well in the classroom, what you actually see is good assessment for learning and good teaching and learning practice. And certainly, using an approach where there is peer assessment and self-assessment is exciting for the students because they get an opportunity to talk about what it is they are learning and what it is they need to do in order to make progress.
I think it's easier with the AF5 when you're splitting up into levels, because if you're aiming for level 7, you know what to do. So now you need to know what you need to include. And it's just easier, and you know how to set out your work, the structure of it. Now you know what stuff you need to include if you want to achieve a higher level than you got before.
If I don't understand something and we're passing it around, we're trying to like find out what other people are doing, and you could take their work and then put it into your own head and then think about that more later on. I'm starving after that lesson.
It is really encouraging to see that around the school there are displays that promote and that publicise the use of APP for students, and they do appreciate being able to see those same materials in their exercise books so they can track individually where their progress is being made and where they're having success and where their targets are for improvement.
What we're going to do today in this focus group is look at our own work, the answers that we produced, and to see if we can highlight in blue the parts that you thought you did well and met assessment focus 5, and parts in pink that you think perhaps needed improving on.
We got a level 6, but to get it to a level 7, we could be more specific and try saying something but not exactly what we mean.
The others in the class are given a task similar to the one that the group are working on, but they're expected to work independently, and at the end of the lesson what we do is we draw everyone back together and see feedback, what they found and how it affects the group that I'm working with.
It was really useful for Gemma to have an opportunity to do some guided work with a particular group of students. It is one of the benefits of using APP because students become accustomed to working in pairs and peer assessing. A culture of supportive work is created and they can be trusted to work independently on a task that they find engaging and challenging.
In yesterday's lesson, Lucy, you said that you weren't sure how to reach a level 7 or perhaps improve your work. So if we look at your work now, what level do you think it is and how, in your opinion, could you improve it?
It's a level 5 and I think we can improve it by like wording it better, like a better structure, because it's hard to understand. And we need to explain it more and we need to describe the effect it like has on the reader, the question, and give examples of like what could happen to Richard because of this. We've put at the end, he's hung up for in the story. It talks about how he's hung up for the monument. So we've wrote that that's like staging for the end of the war, but we haven't really explained it further. So that's what we need to do to get level 7, how it affects in the future. So if we write further.
Right, good. So you know that the beginning of the play begins with war, the war's over.
Yeah.
And try to think about how the play ends. How does the play end if we think about monuments hung up?
With another war.
Yeah. We should explain more about the future, what we think is going to happen.
Yeah, the overall effects on the reader.
Yeah, like an overall picture to describe it.
Good.
So the last sentence, how we've spoke about how the war's ended.
Yes, they're not expecting, and then say why they're not expecting it.
In the past, the teacher had the power. The teacher was the sole giver of a level, and it was done in a summative way, so we built up to a moment, a crescendo if you like, where we were given this final level. With APP we're looking for evidence all the way through, and we can't actually give a full national curriculum level till we've collected lots and lots of pieces of evidence. In the past we had 6 summative assessments at the end of each unit. Now we're collecting around 22 to 24 pieces of evidence per year for each student, and then at 2 times during the year, which is how we run at this school, we will give them an overall level of where they are.
APP provides real focus and real structure that the students benefit from massively, and in many schools in Lancashire the APP approach has transformed the level of achievement at Key Stage 3 for students, and that in turn feeds into what happens at Key Stage 4, so it has been very positively received in Lancashire.
For each individual student, they can see progress. They can look at their APP grid and they can see that the highlighted levels are increasing, and over a period of time they will say, wow, I can do that now. And it's not only in one moment, it's any moment, with any text, at any point, in any lesson. So it goes cross-curricular. And if it's done right in English, then it can be done right across the school.